Hey, how's it going? Let's check out today's news. Today marks the 30th anniversary of protests in Tiananmen Square in Beijing in China. Back in 1989, hundreds of thousands of people held a big rally demanding changes from the government. But on June 4th, the government sent in soldiers and tanks who fired on the unarmed civilians. There was outrage around the world, but today a lot of people in China still don't know the full story.
Have you seen this image before? It's a really famous photo of a man trying to stop a convoy of tanks through Tiananmen Square. People in China had been protesting for weeks about the way the country was being run. But just the day before, on June 4th, 1989, hundreds, possibly thousands of people were killed when the military opened fire. It's known as the Tiananmen Square Massacre, and there was outrage around the world, including from then Australian Prime Minister Bob Hawke.
Thousands have been killed and injured, victims of a leadership that seems determined to hang on to the reins of power at any cost.
He let tens of thousands of Chinese students living in Australia stay here permanently. Back in China, many protesters were punished or imprisoned for being involved, and there were tighter media restrictions put in place. The governments mostly tried to cover up what happened, and even today, people in China aren't really allowed to talk about Tiananmen Square. This ABC reporter in China tried to ask young people about it and didn't really get anywhere. The internet in China is tightly controlled, and it's hard to even find the iconic photo online, let alone detailed information about the protests. So while many people there may still not have the full story about what happened, elsewhere in the world, people still mark this important and sad piece of history.
The SpaceX Dragon capsule has made its way back to Earth after a visit to the International Space Station. Dragon launched a month ago, bringing supplies for the astronauts as well as materials for experiments and research. And yes, this is actual footage of it docking. Right now, it's snowing in Queensland. No, really, it's snowing in Queensland. Icy winds have made the temperature drop to below zero in parts of southern Queensland. Experts say snow in Queensland is rare, but does happen every so often. Sticking with the theme of bizarre things up in Queensland, a family is trying to kick off a new craze of taking in camels as pets.
Meet the Mitchell family and their pet camels. These gentle giants help out on their property, protecting their cattle from wild dogs, eating up weeds, and most importantly,
I can go up and hug them, give them pats, and they're just generally extremely friendly.
Dozens of people in Queensland are starting to jump on the camel pet bandwagon, and some reckon it could help solve Australia's camel problem. Australia actually has the biggest feral camel population in the world. Way back in the 1800s, they were introduced for transport, and now there are more than 300,000 wandering the outback. They're a bit of a headache for landowners, destroying fences, stealing feed, and draining water supplies. Some believe using camels as livestock for grazing or as pets may be a solution. If you are thinking of getting a camel, you need a big backyard, lots of food, and 50 years of camel cuddles to spare, because that's how long they can actually live.
Now it's time to take a look at the weird world of sport. Introducing the world's cutest and slowest competition, the annual baby race in Lithuania. 25 toddlers went head-to-head on an epic 5-metre carpet track. At the finish line, parents were luring them with cookies, toys, phones, and TV remotes. Now to some competitors with slightly better balance. Germany's just hosted the World Slackline Masters. It's kind of like tightrope walking, except the line is looser, which makes it harder to balance. Although it's hard to tell watching these guys. Chilean Abraham Hernandez took out the main event with this specky triple flip. Baseball's usually pretty normal, right? Well, not so much in this game in the US. A third team decided to join in with the Marlins and the Padres, the Bees. The game was delayed for half an hour while a keeper tried to clear them off. It's not the first time some Bees have crashed a Padres game. Back in 2017, players had to hit the deck when the uninvited visitors stopped by for a quick hit. Well, that's it for today, but what do you think about having a camel for a pet? Or is there another bizarre animal you'd like to have? Let us know in the comments below and make sure to hit like and subscribe.